Welcome back again, everyone. Today we're reviewing a cigar from Robusto Duran Cigars, and this was debuted at the IPCPR in Las Vegas this year. This is the Azan White Label. This is the Robusto 4 7/8 by 50. There's the density. It's a nice feeling cigar in the hand. Interesting thing about the Azan, it is the only Cuban cigar that was ever made by Chinese immigrants. Now you can read about this with links on the blog to the description, but that is interesting. In 1870, Juan Ben Sen and his two brothers migrate from China to Havana and eventually settle in Nicaragua, the center of Cuba. I hope I'm saying that word correct. So this goes back to 1870 when they first arrived from China, and in 1928 they started producing cigars. So Roberto Duran has revived this cigar brand, and this is his premium line, so we want to make sure we do a good job with the review today. Now this cigar is an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper. Let's see, the binder is Nicaraguan, and the filler is Nicaraguan from Jalapa and Esteli, and also it has some Brazilian Matafina in the filler. So let's get right to it. The Azan White Label Robusto. All right, let's cigar has a few little bumps and ridges, and it's I would call it a medium brown in color, but it has a good weight. I like that about it. I like the fact that the ingredients we spoke about just now all sound very good. All right, that's a great draw. Here we go, took off just a bit. The very first puff, you get a lot of woodiness, a lot of wood notes, dry oak, and a little touch of some sort of sweetness. But that's the very first puff. So let's see where let's let it settle down here a second. I'm initially getting some nice sweet cedar with a little bit of a creamy overtone to it, and there are still a lot of those dry oak notes. Pepper's good, somewhere around 7 or so, 6, 7, somewhere in there. And even at this early stage, it is burning laser perfect. So I'm just going to let it come into its own, and we'll see where we go from here. But that's a good initial flavor characterization, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, I'm about a ½ inch in or so, and I think I've nailed down the flavors a little more. They've settled down. I would like to say this up front. This is the only cigar I have to judge. I have this one, the white label, and the burgundy label, which I'll do later, some other day. But it's very hard to get an accurate assessment when you have one cigar to judge, so I'm going to do my best. But the flavors are this at this point. you have a sweet cedar, you have a somewhat bitter grapefruit citrus working with or against it, however you want to look at it, those oaky notes and a little earthiness, and of course the pepper we spoke of. The finish is a little easier. It's pretty much a straightforward sweet cream, not overly rich or anything, just sweet cream. And there's a touch of lingering pepper, which you'll feel on the back of your palate. I would call the cigar basically around the medium-bodied range at this point, and it is burning for the most part very evenly. So let's see where it progresses or changes or what have you from here, but that's about what it settles down into at about the half-inch point. Well, I guess I'm about 1.5 inches in now, and although I don't like to do this, I normally don't touch up a cigar. I let it self-correct. In this case, after bragging about how laser perfect the burn was, it got off, it stayed off, I did touch it up. I admit that, and you can see it obviously right there. You can tell where it was touched up. You experienced people, you can see right where I did it. But it seemed necessary at the time. Now the flavors have changed. You have a very rich, sweet cedar now and nutmeg combination. The oaky, dry oak notes are still there, and the earthiness now is giving me more of a coffee flavor. So it's the base is what I would call coffee now. There is just a twinge of earthiness to it, but it's basically coffee. The cigar now is still medium bodied, and the finish is now a more sweeter cream, but the lingering pepper is really nice. I like when you can feel that on your palate. It's nice. All over the back of your mouth, throat, you can feel it. So that's a big change going to the cedar is somewhat rich, is nice and sweet, and has nutmeg, and then the coffee notes, the earthy coffee notes, if you will. Nice change. Tastes very, very good. I'm here at the band, and the cedar notes are going right along, and they're nice and sweet. The nutmeg is tailed off some, but the wood notes, they sort of are more of a charred oak now, and they really have picked up steam somewhat. And you still have what I'm still calling coffee notes at the base. But the flavors are changing here and there. There are times when I get like a fruity plum sort of a flavor mixed in with that cedar. Now, you know, when you get into these fruit flavors and you start describing them, that gets a little tricky, and it can go a lot of directions. A lot of people get into a lot of categorization of the fruits, but this one definitely had a fruity plum-like flavor mixed in with the cedar, but it's not something that sticks. It's kind of here and there, so just take it for this. The cedar is nice and sweet, and it has a little richness to it. That's about it. I would still call the cigar medium bodied. I don't see it getting beyond that, but there are numerous flavor changes throughout this short cigar, and I anticipate there'll be more. Well, obviously we don't have much left, only about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. But at this point, the cigar is tap dancing around the medium to full range. Took this long to get there, but it's starting to have that medium to full feel. The flavor is still about the same. You have your sweet cedar, a lot of dried oak notes, sometimes charred oak notes. This cigar, the flavors really change a lot in micro increments. So it'll be one way now, and 30 seconds, a minute, two later, it changes. But they're all hovering around the same point. Finish is still one of a nice sweet cream and your lingering pepper, which is really nice about this cigar. The sweet notes of cedar, sometimes the fruitiness comes and goes, and that happens with this cigar. So the fact that it's tap dancing or very close to medium to full is noteworthy. No one to come back and tell you that. Well, it wasn't much of a jump from the last segment to now, but we're here at the end, so let's wrap it up. Cigar ended with a nice, slightly rich, sweet cedar. And do you remember way back at the beginning we talked about the low touch of cream on the front end? There's just a touch of cream on the cedar now. Your oak notes are quite prominent. Your coffee notes are there. Pepper remained good. It probably elevated to at least a 7. The finish remained unchanged, and the finish was very good throughout. Cigar ended up medium to full bodied. It burned fairly evenly. There was one point where I had to touch it up there at first third or close to the midpoint. That happens, but that's not a deal breaker. I found the cigar very good. The numerous changes make this cigar very interesting. It is very, well, you may call it complex because it does change a lot, and although they're small changes, it's constantly changing. What is your definition of a complex cigar? That would probably fit that definition. Roberto Duran has done a good job with this Azan, and I think, although I don't know where they are on shelves or how prominent they are, look for them and try them. Try this white label. It's been very good. For me, it ends up with a score of 91. I thought a lot of this cigar, and I think you should try it. So there you have it, the Azan White Label Robusto.